Hey guys, I'm going to jump on and read out of our Secret School book. I'm on chapter 13. I didn't get it posted this morning, so it's like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm going to read chapter 13 and then I'll do 14 as well. So I'll post them both so you have them for tomorrow because you better be sleeping. Okay, chapter 13. That evening, after her chores and grading were done, Ida worked late into the night. She began with her reader, focusing on sections she had not read before. She studied grammar and tried to memorize passages, working in particular on a Psalm of Life, a poem by Longfellow. In the morning, she phrased sentences in her head as she milked Bluebell. At the breakfast table, she did math problems, her eyes glued to her textbook. Though her father frowned at her, he said nothing. As she and Flex drove to school, she recited the Longfellow poem. Tell me not, mournful numbers, break clutch. Life is but not so hard, an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers. Break! And things are not, break clutch, what they seem. Life is real, break! Life is earnest, and the grave clutch is not its goal. Dust thou art, to dust returns. Break was not break clutch, spoken of the soul. We're here. In school, right after the morning exercises, Ida stood before the class. Anyone know where Herbert is? Working, probably, Charlie said. I need to know, Ida said, if our school is still a secret. How many of you told your parents what we're doing? I did, she informed them. I had to. Tom was the first one to respond. Then Shyla and Natasha raised her hand. Charlie said, I just told them that our school was going on. I didn't say you was the teacher. I'd explained what had happened when she went to Herbert's place and spoke to Mr. Bixler. By mistake, I told him that I was the teacher, she said. He didn't like it. Then she told them what Mr. Bixler had said to her mother. Oh, sorry. Think he really will say something to Mr. Jordan? Natasha asked. My dad says Mr. Bixler isn't really mean, Susie put it, just unhappy all the time. My ma says the same, Ida agreed. I don't know what he'll do, but if you haven't already, I guess you better let your parents know everything. Just try to get them to not tell anyone else, especially Mr. Jordan. She sighed. Guess we better get on with our own work, Ida said. Can't be any shrieking if we're going to pass those exams. Ida went to her desk and consulted her notebook, then gave instructions to the class. Tom, sentence phrasing. Mary, penmanship, in particular, your G's, Q's, and F's. Susie, I'd like you to help her. Natasha, when you're ready, I'll quiz you on the continents. Charlie, reading. Flex, you start off with reciting your ABCs. Everybody set to work. More than before, Ida put everyone to task on what they could do on their own. While they sat about their assignments, she sat at her desk, secretly working on her own studies, in particular math. Secret school, secret student, she thought. Halfway through the morning, Ida walked up to Tom's desk. Yes, Miss Bison, he said. Tom, Ida said, whispering, so no one else could hear. I'm not teaching right now. I'm studying for myself. How do you do this kind of a math problem? Tom looked at her and paused. He pushed his hair away from his forehead and gave her a wink. Tom, she whispered, please. Okay, better sit down, though, he said, and showed her how to do the problem. Thank you, she whispered, giving him a grateful look when he was done. In the evening, as soon as she got home, Ida raced through her chores, retreated to her loft, and worked on her studies. After dinner, she did the same. Her mother found Ida in bed. By the glowing light of the lamp, she was reading the school's frayed copies of the Great Oration by Great Men. Ida, it's very late. You're pushing yourself too hard. What's the good of me being a teacher? I replied with anguish. If everyone else gets to pass the exams and I don't, it'll be the last time I ever teach. Honey, I'm sure you know more than you think. Ma, the exam is in a couple weeks, but I have no idea what's in it. And I have to know everything. Honey, I don't want you getting sick. Wouldn't be good for anything then. I'll be a whole lot sicker if I don't get into high school. Miss Bison sighed and retreated down the ladder. The next day, school started as usual. The hours passed. It grew darker and darker. Recess was held, but the thunderheads gathered around the mountain peaks made it clear that a big storm was a-comin'. We'd best light the lamps and get some dry wood, Ida said. Right after lunch, the storm struck. It came softly at first and then quickly shifted into roof-rattling hail. Oh, goodness. The children gazed around, watching the large hailstones bounce off the windows. Tom raised his hand. Yes, Tom? Can I bring in Ruckus? He gets panicky in the hailstorms. Ida frowned. You never did when it stormed before. Tom nodded towards the window. That's big hail. Very well. I suppose it's all right, but I don't want that mule interfering. Tom dashed out. Moments later, he returned, leading the mule through the schoolhouse door. He looked around, then backed the animal into the boys' wardrobe and shut the door. With the lamps on and the stove hot, it was cozy in the schoolhouse. The students stayed attentive to the work. Now and again in the wardrobe, the mule would stomp and occasionally bray, but no one paid him any attention. It was still raining that afternoon when Mary, standing before the class, got ready to recite a poem. The rest of the children were listening intently. The song of the bee, Mary began. The song of the bee, Mary began. This is the song of the bee. His legs are yellow, a jolly good fellow, and yet a great worker is he. In the days that are sunny, the door bursts open. Mr. Jordan stood there, his yellow rain slicker dripping wet. So it's true what I was told. You are meeting here. Well, this school is supposed to be closed. And as of this moment, it is closed. Now all of you get on home where you belong. No one moved. Suddenly, the boys' wardrobe, there came a loud stomping. Puzzled, Mr. Jordan opened the wardrobe door. The mule struck his head out and brayed in Mr. Jordan's face. And get this mule out of here, Mr. Jordan cried. Oh my word, can you imagine? That's the end of chapter 13.